All right, everyone. So, welcome to Easy Virtual Learning, creating virtual games and activities with Google Slides and Flippity.net. Basically, these are two free tools. Of course, Google Slides, you all probably know. Flippity.net, I don't know. In fact, I'd be curious if you all could maybe raise your hands. Let me see if I can see all the people I can. If you've heard of Flippity.net before, I'm just curious as how many people have. Let me see if I can see the hands. Anybody here has heard about it? In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start something called Canva Live. Let me start a new session here, and I'm going to copy the invitation. And basically how Canva Live works is that it allows me as the presenter to see live interactions like people's comments and so on without my having to go back and forth between the chats. So that's one advantage of using Canva. If you've never used Canva before, it's one of my favorite tools ever. Let me stop sharing just for a moment, just to put the link to, let's see, chat, just to put the link to Canva Live, because that will make it easier for you to get in. And then I'd really appreciate it if you guys could go in, because that makes it easier for me if you have questions or so on. Okay, so with that taken care of, I'm Dr. Chris Wildermuth. I want to welcome you to this. I guess this is the last program officially from the Mastering Leadership and Technology Essentials series for 2025. There is still going to be one more webinar that I will run this semester, I guess. I'm going to share the link with you all at the end of the program. But then next year, we're going to start again with these technology and leadership programs. And we have a bunch of those that are free and sponsored by the Barry University, specifically the Masters in Leadership and Innovation, which I direct and am very proud of. So if anybody's interested in that, please let me know. This is me with a shameless plug. All right, moving on. A little bit about me in case you haven't been in programs with me before. I am a professor at Barry University. Barry is in Miami Shores, but I'm actually in Kissimmee, close to the Disney parks, and I'm a huge Disney park adult, like Disney adult, the card carrying kind. Go to Disney all the time. This is me and, of course, Rapunzel and my daughter Maggie. So if anybody listening likes to go to the Disney parks, send me a note. Okay, let's see. Moving on, some brief housekeeping. The presentation is being recorded so that I can send the recording to you all later on. The link to the slides and the recording will be also shared, even though I'm going to give you all the QR code in a moment and any handouts and whatnot. After the presentation, I will send everybody basically a note saying, hey, here are the links. Here's a link to the presentation. Here's a link to the handout that I shared. Here's the recording, that kind of thing. And also, some of you may be interested in the Society for Human Resource Management, or SHRM number, for professional development, the professional development credits, I guess, PDCs. This presentation is worth half 0.5 PDC. If you have no idea what PDC means or what SHRM is, then you probably don't need that. Don't worry about it. This is just for those of you who need it. So at the end of the presentation, I will share the number. I need to wait until the end as per SHRM regulations, but you will also receive in the letter the number, the activity number, all the information that you need to get the credit. And if you don't receive the email that I send after the session to the people who attended, please send me an email at cwildermuth@barry.edu so that I can help you. Because sometimes what happens is that you enter, I don't know how it works with Teams, but you enter in a way in which the system doesn't recognize you. So then when I download the list of the people who attended, your name is not in there, but that doesn't mean that I can't help you privately. And where are the slides? If you want to point your telephones to my slide, that they are there. In the meantime, I can drink water. Cool. And here is the roadmap. So I'm going to start explaining what Flippity.net is and showing you what you can do with Flippity.net. Flippity.net basically allows you to use Google Sheets to create all sorts of cool stuff. And it's completely free. I've been using this tool forever. And then show you how to use Google Slides as game boards. At the end of it all, this is kind of ambitious, I am going to show you how, like the next step, and maybe I'll create another webinar to teach you that, is that technically you can actually do everything that I'm showing you on flippity.net and Google Slides. You can go one step further and you can actually create an app using what we call vibe coding, in which you basically go to the AI tool of your choice and you just say, hey, I want to create exactly this set of flashcards or this board game, or this is exactly what I want. And then the AI magically creates the HTML code or JavaScript code or whatever code for you, and then you publish it. So I'm going to send you all a handout with a step-by-step exactly how to do that, and maybe set up, if you guys are interested, maybe I can set up another webinar. Let me know at the end of the program if you're interested in that. Okay, cool. So let's start with flippity.net. And what I'm going to do is, technically this should let me go straight to that page. So let me go to that page. First, I'm going to share what it is, what options there are, and how you build an interaction. So I'm going to go straight to the flippity.net page. Of course, it has a whole bunch of ads at the top because it's a free tool, right? They have to make money somehow. By the way, I don't have the foggiest clue who created this, so this is not self-interested in any way. This is just to show you what it is. The good news is that once you create the interaction, you're not going to have to worry about ads anymore. The ads are just on the page in which you create them. So now you can see what you have in here. You have Flippity flashcards. You can create multimedia cards. You can create a quiz show like Jeopardy, that sort of thing, a random name picker and group maker, and so on. Some of the things that I've personally done and that I love is I've created this board game in various ways. I've created these Flippity manipulatives. I've created the bingo game. So I've done a bunch of these things. So I'm just going to show you how one of them works, and then we can go from there. All right, so I'm going to let me go to the cards first, because the cards are pretty easy. Notice that they have a demo and instructions. I'm going to click on instructions. Once I click on instructions, you ignore all this stuff here about downloading, because heaven knows what the heck is this thing that somebody wants you to download. I guess it's something called Privacy Guard. So ignore that, move down, and then you'll see that they're asking you to make a copy of the template. This, by the way, requires you to have a Google account, which I imagine most of us have. So you make a copy of the template by clicking on this sheet. Once you do that, and I'm going to do it right now, I'm going to make a copy. And you notice that this is basically a Google Sheet. And the Google Sheet is already populated with a bunch of one side of the card and another side of the card. For demonstration purposes, I'm not going to change any of that, but as you can imagine, you can change this with whatever you want. For example, I've done it with, I do a lot of stuff on personality. Some of you may know that. So I put personality traits on the one side, and then on the other side, maybe I put a question that people could be answering related to that personality trait. And I could use those flashcards in a virtual meeting by just sharing with people the link and asking them to open it, and then using those cards to randomly generate some cards and questions that they want. So once you have exactly what you want in here, what you have to do is go to File, and then go to Share, and publish the whole thing. So publishing it is very important, because that's the only way that this is going to work. And then it's going to give you a link here. Go ahead and copy it. So I'm just in my computer clicking Control C. If you have a Mac, I don't know, I think it's the Apple C. I can't remember. Actually, I haven't used a Mac in a while, so I can't remember how to quickly copy in a Mac, but I'm sure you know that. So all you have to do is copy this and close. Once you do that, you see where it says get the link here. So it even says here, publisher spreadsheet, it tells you how, and then copy the link you're provided and paste it into cell A3 below. So I'm just going to copy here what I created. And then once they do that, it says click on the link in cell A5 to go to your flippity.net flashcards. I'm going to do just that. And voila. Actually, I told you that there wouldn't be any ads, and I'm just noticing that that pesky ad is at the top, but I guess it's a free tool, so it's the price you pay for it. And then now you can just move on the card normally if you flip, and you can use this in a variety of ways. You can change the images, you can change the questions, you can change the colors, and so on. So that is the flashcard. I'm going to demonstrate one more, but honestly, this is the kind of thing that you probably want to just play with, try them out. This, this here that is the random name picker, this is awesome. I can very quickly, I could, for example, go into my presentation and enter you guys' names in here. I'm not even going to bother changing these. And then I click generate, and there you go. Okay, so, and I didn't set this up so that you guys would see the sound, but there's actually some sound that plays. And now I know that Daniel is supposed to be speaking. Super, super fast. Now, how do you use this? You just copy the URL. This URL is permanent. You can maybe bookmark them into a folder with your flippity.net interactions. And then you can probably embed it in your training programs, your virtual presentations, I've even used it in live sessions because anymore, all I have to do is have like a QR code or something like that, and everybody can use their phones and boom, they can get into the interaction that I want. And then finally, I'm going to show you the Flippity board game. This is really fun. If I clicked on demo, it would just go to the demo game. I want to go to instructions because I want you to see how this works. So once again, same thing. It asks you to make a copy of a template. Do I want to make a copy? Yes, I want to make a copy. Make sure that later on you know where that copy went, because by now, if I showed you my Google Drive, you would see like a whole bazillion copy of FlippityNet, whatever, at the very bottom that I have no clue what it is. So don't be me. Here, what you have are just basically colors, but I could have used an image. So I could go to a place that has images published and just enter the image here, and then the image would actually show up in the board. So if you want to do that, I'm just going to show you one way to do it, and I'll enter all these links in the letter that I'll send you guys later. My favorite place to find images, free images online, is Pixabay. I'm not going to log in now. It's free to join, and I have been a quote unquote member of Pixabay for, I don't know, 20 years. Haven't ever received a letter from them. Maybe I received one to confirm my account, but that's about it. And then you can explore anything that you want. So I'm just going to look for teamwork. You ignore the ones that say sponsored images because those are paid. I'm just going to click on this one here. It's desperately trying to get me to sign up. So then when I go there, I just copy, I'm right-clicking, copy the image address. If I enter that address here, then that picture is going to be showing in my board. I'll show you in a moment how that works. Cool. So here it is. If you go down, you see that there are also cards. So you can do these games in which you play the die and then you get 6. And then if you click on 6, it takes you to the 6th box. And then it says, read the card that says blue or whatever. And then you can also have questions on the cards. Okay. Same, you do exactly the same thing here that you do with the flashcards. You first click share and then publish to the web, publish, boom, copy this address here, and then go to get the link. Remember, all this is going to be recorded, so you guys can go back and see what on earth, if you are like, what on earth did she do? And then click, and voila, here is my board game. Remember that picture I was showing you? Here it is. And if you click on each of these cards, it tells you what you have to do. And then if you want to play the die, you just click here, OK, 1. And then I'm just going to move this. Pretty cool, completely free, very fun. Let me get out of here. I have used this so many times. Yes, I agree with you, Kristen. It is painful to create things like this in PowerPoint. With Flippity.net, it's so easy. And all you have to do is make sure that you save the link because otherwise, trust me, you will never find it again. Okay, let me see how I'm getting in time so that I don't get carried away here. These are just some examples of things that I've done, but yes, it is really free. Anonymous just asked me if it's really free. It is really free. Sometimes when they do the updates to Chrome, it stops working for a day or two, but don't panic. It's going to come back. This thing has been going on for a while. All right. So my question to you all, and maybe you can answer that on canva.live, is how would you use this? Can you guys give me some ideas of what you could do? Wait to see. And see, by the way, this is why I love canva.live, because as you guys answer, I don't really need to go into chat. However, I am going to chat. So somebody is asking me in the chat, my organization blocks Google Docs for security reasons. Can this work with Excel as well? No, unfortunately not. The only thing I can think of is that you can, if you have like a personal computer or another process, you can copy those. You can copy everything that you do in the Excel into the sheet and then, but you would have to use their template. I don't know of any other ways in which that would work, unfortunately. You may be able to use the Vibe coding though. So hopefully you have another computer you can access. Okay. Nobody told me how you're going to use this. No ideas? Okay, skip my ode to Zoom polling for a warm-up and teach compensation conversations for leaders. Would be great to have an interactive flashcard. Yes, this is great. Gamify boring things like understanding contracts and turn it into a teams competing with each other. The spin the wheel can be fun to stimulate questions or conversation. And by the way, sometimes I use a variety of these tools. So I use for example, the spin the wheel with numbers, and then I put the link in a Google board, and then I have people click on the link so as to know where to go. Okay, somebody has created a why call HR training, and this could be incorporated. And then I'm looking in the chat. I can imagine using this as an online group facilitation to get some interaction around concepts. Absolutely. All right, awesome. Let's move on. So now, how about Google Slides? Can you use Google Slides to do interactive activities with your participants in a virtual game, or like I said, even in a even in a face-to-face group? Because the QR code thing, it's awesome. People just click on the QR code, they go to their little phones, and they play it there. So it's possible to do that too. So what can you do with Google Slides? You can create your Google Slides board. You can add little tokens by creating little circles or importing tokens as images. And the only thing you need to do for this to work is when you create your Google slide, you make it editable by anybody. When you receive the presentation, by the way, all these things are clickable. So here is a sample game, and I am going to copy this and put it in the chat for you all to be able to get in there. What this is a game of, are you guys familiar with Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity? I guess Apples to Apples is the PG-13 version. It's, if you're not familiar with those, because we have people from other countries here, it is a kind of a little card game or board game in which people will choose a card. For example, in this case, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you all to see better. So in this case, I was using it to have my students practice personality. So my first card here says high perfectionism. I'm just going to make this bigger so that you can see it. And then I asked each of the players to pick 5 of the red cards that I simply created. And then, so everybody picks a card. And then the idea is that people are supposed to pick one of their cards and place in the big green card. So I can say that, I don't know, Mufasa is high perfectionism. That makes absolutely no sense. So hopefully people would get a better card than that. Somebody else could say that it's watching cable TV for 8 hours. But then the beauty of this, obviously, is not in the card that you choose, is that one of the players at a time is going to be a judge, and then the judge is going to afford a point, give a point to the person whose card is chosen. So there's some competition going on, and where the learning occurs is when people basically explain why Mufasa is high perfectionism, or watching cable news for 8 hours is high perfectionism. Obviously, this is a terrible example. I'm simply showing you guys how this would work. So, can you create a board game with Google Slides? Yes, all you need to do is under Share, make sure that anybody with the link is an editor. That's all. So once you do that, then you can do anything. You can import a board of snakes and ladders and create a bunch of cards with questions for people to play. Anything will work. It's the simplest thing. I've created like a gazillion card games, board games, you name it, simply using Google Slides. And by the way, I created these cards with Canva. And what I did is I put a link in here to sample cards. What I would ask you all is when you go in there, just if you want to use this system, simply copy them into your Canva account, canva.com, and then you can substitute these cards for whatever you want. So I am giving you sample red cards and green cards so that you can use exactly this game if you want to. Okay, let's see where I'm going to go now. I'm going to skip because, of course, I knew I was going to run out of time, and I'm running out of time. So I'm going to skip asking you how you could use it. I hope your wheels are turning on how you could use all that. Now, do you want to go one step further? And I think this will require yet another webinar. I don't know, raise your hand if you would be interested in that webinar, but I would teach you how to then actually create this on using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever you use, and then publishing it in a public repository. And then if you do that, let me show you what I've done. So in terms of personality flashcards, I created these by basically telling ChatGPT, I want to have a set of cards and I want people to click and randomly get one. And by the way, it says here, random draws a random card from the deck and flip toggles between image and word. So that's how this works. And I could use these cards in any way. And what I would need then is to copy this here. And then this is the coolest. This I did the other day. I created an online version of the traits to apples. So how it works is I click set up, then I deal 4 to each person. There are 4 players. Now everything is automatic here. People will put their cards where they're supposed to go. Somebody's going to win. Then they use the counter to actually create this. So you may think, oh my goodness, how did you do that? I told ChatGPT I wanted to do just that. And then it created the code for me. There's a little more to it because inevitably it does something wrong. And then you have to teach it how to do it better. And you say, hey, this little thing is not working. But at the end of the day, it is pretty magical how you actually can do it. And by the way, in case you're wondering, I don't have the foggiest clue how to code things with HTML or JavaScript or any of that stuff. I don't know any of that. I just copy and publish it into a repository called GitHub. So what I'm going to do for you all is I'm going to share, this is here in a QR code, but I'm also going to add it to the letter I'm going to send you with the step-by-step instructions on how you can actually use vibe coding to create your own apps. But I'll set up another webinar for that. Lisa is asking me if the ChatGPT version I'm using is the free version or the paid version. It's the paid version. However, as far as I know, you can use the free version as well. The difference is that the free version, after a certain number of interactions, is going to tell you that you're done with interactions and that you have to start another chat, at which point it's a pain in the butt because then you have to copy everything to start another chat. Depending on how simple your interaction is, the 10 chat boxes limit of the free account should be fine. So I would say you probably can use the free version. And I've been told that Claude is even better. This here, which I'll also send to you, is the summarized transcript of the conversation that I had with ChatGPT and later with Canva to create that whole thing that I just showed you. So you will see exactly how the conversation went, what went wrong, what then it changed. Like you will see the whole process that I went through to create that. The next webinar that I'm running is actually next week, and it's on why we avoid conflict. It has, which I just noticed a typo on, which has to do with the reasons why we avoid conflict in the workplace and what happens when that takes place. So I'll give you guys the link in the letter as well. A new plug for the School of Business and Public Administration at Berry, of course. And thank you so much. All right, guys, so that is it. You will receive a link to all that, all the information that I can give you. I guess I will schedule that vibe coding one. And I want to thank Wilma. Wilma, thank you so much for at the last minute taking on kind of like co-presenter duties and adding people to the webinar. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. So that's it for today. Take care and have a great rest of your week.